Hey guys, welcome back for chapter 9 and 10 of the Warden. It is blaringly hot today. It's so hot I am sticking to this chair. I'm going to crack on with this straight away and get into it. Chapter 9 starts with Alice again, and we are on the other side. Now, if we remember previously, she just killed her first ever person, being Butch, with his own chainsaw. Bit of stupidity. Normally, every scene of every kind of horror book usually has some big guy, like fat guy. I've always tend to see the trope of that, so I have one on my own. Right, I'm gonna crack on with this. Sat in a pool with a big man's blood, my body is numb. Never have I killed anyone before. The sensation and feeling disgust me. I want to cry, but no tears will come. I want to vomit, but my stomach emptied some time ago. Shaking with fear, remorse, and regret begin to cloud my mind as I collect the videotape. This is nothing more than a fight for survival, and almost everyone here wants to do me harm or worse. My mind is being whittled down slowly. I do not know how much more of this insanity I can take. Mental walls are breaking down inside my head. I can feel them crumbling. Heavy rock music is still blaring out of the radio on a nearby table. No idea how it used to look, but now it is filthy, littered with empty dog food cans, rotting meat, and dried stains from God knows what. I think about turning the music off, but decide to leave it playing. In the time I have been in this room, which must have been a good hour or so, no one has come. Not that I will be able to hear anyone if they did decide to come. The music is not to my taste, but it drowns out all the other noises, because I highly doubt the screams of people being tortured have subsided. Starting to walk the way Becky had ran, I forced myself to stop. Why I stopped, I don't know. Becky knew this guy's name. At first I thought the girl on the slab had resigned herself to death, but thinking about it, Becky was calm, collected, and relaxed. She wasn't even a little bit scared of Butch. Even if she did have a knife, I doubt she could have beaten him in a fight. My daughter is playing this sick and violent game, so perhaps Jamie is involved too. I want to chase my daughter, but my mind tells me to do as Siggy suggests. Saying a prayer for my daughter, I open the creaking wooden doors, slipping out into the corridor that is brightly lit. I hold up my hand in front of my face as the light burns my eyes. It seems odd. After all, everywhere else has been so dark. This part of the asylum seems cleaner than the rest, and even better maintained. Still bits and pieces of medical equipment litter the side of the halls, but the paint isn't peeling away from the walls and no wires dangle down from the arched ceilings. Dust does cover the blue vinyl floor, but there is old red stains splattered here and there. No bodies to go with the stains, thankfully. Continuing down the corridor with the sounds of heavy rock music beginning to fade, I scan my new surroundings. There are soft noises echoing around me, but after spending an entire night here, I am no longer leaping out of my skin at every little thing. Or so I believe until I hear scraping sounds like fingernails being dragged along the wall. Stopping to look in the direction of the noise, I find myself peering into a large open doorway. A sign above reads Canteen in bright red neon lights. Inside it is dark, but thanks to the light from the hall, I can see that something or someone has made a maze out of tables and chairs. They're stacked high to the ceiling, and there are so many. They stretch far into the dark parts of the room to where I can no longer see. Just like the stairwell that has a thick line of salt across it, the entrance to the canteen also has one. Fuck going in there, I tell myself, and what logical reason would I have for going in? Come closer, Alice. Anonymous whisper comes from inside the canteen, calling me towards it. The sound of fingernails being dragged along the wall follows the anonymous voice echo. Oh, go screw yourself. You think I'm going in there? I would have to be as stupid as I am dead. Forget it. Damn straight I'm not going in there. Whether or not that creepy voice knows my name. Seems I upset whoever it is, as a loud racket can be heard deep within, like someone is throwing tables and chairs around. They clatter in the distance as loud wailing noises sound out, and a strong stench of rotten veg fills the corridor I am stood in. I have learnt my lesson from Elsa. Nowhere will I fall for this crap again. Leaving the now angry spirit to do whatever he or she wants to do, I begin to continue my walk down the corridor until I come to a most peculiar section. All around me are shiny glass windows with glass still inside. Everywhere else I have been in this crazy hell has had every shard of glass removed. Morning is fast approaching, making it easier to see the outside as I press my face against one of the glass windows to peer out. Within moments, I am left regretting my actions. Why am I being so damn curious? Perhaps in the olden days when this facility was just open, the gardens were lovely and no doubt a nice place for patients to relax. Not anymore. What I am left looking at is a very large garden overrun with weeds and thick bramble patches. A path of gravel still snakes around a crumbling fountain. Leaves and weeds Leaves and weeds grow within the fountain where water once was. On the other side of the garden is a door frame. As I stand gawping like an idiot, I watch in disbelief as a man scurries hastily along the corridor on the other side of the garden. The corridor itself is not as well lit as the one I am in, but the sun is starting to come up. The man is looking over his shoulder and seems to be terrified. His face is drip white. Must be 5 or 6 of them sackheads chasing the man down. It is like watching a pack of feral dogs or apes as the bagheads make crazy weird noises and begin to jump around from side to side. This is when I begin to regret my curious nature. I really shouldn't have been looking. Unlike the other corridor that is barely lit enough to see, the ongoings on my corridor is like being in a sunbed shop. I stand out enough for one of the crazies to spot me. They begin to rush out into the weed and bramble infested garden, followed by others. At least 4 of them now enter the garden, coming towards me. I drop to my knees and hide under the windowsill, realizing it is probably better that I make a break for it. After all, how much force can this glass withstand before it shatters and the crazies climb on through? All 4 crazies began to drum on the glass. I can see one of them even licking it. Only one speaks as he tries to look at me from a diagonal angle. "We sees you." Just like his buddy licking the window, he lifts up his sack to expose his mouth and runs his tongue against the glass. My cover is blown, and now is the time to run like the poor man. Hurrying on my feet, I start to run. Try not to look outside as the crazies begin pelting the glass and banging their heads against it. "Where are you going, Alice?" That one sentence alone makes me spin on my heels and stare back at the windows. The baghead that must have spoken is pressing his dirty hand against the glass. This one is different from the others. I know, as this one doesn't wear some grimy sack. He wears a red, battered demonic mask instead, making him stand out amongst the others. "Morning is coming, Alice." That voice sounds familiar, but for whatever reason I can't place it. Watching in disbelief, the masked man pulls out a horrible-looking machete and begins to run it across the glass. Steadily, he starts to carve my name into the window, and it is at that moment I realise that the windows are not glass, but in fact reinforced plastic. "Stay right there, you filthy bitch. We are coming for you." The masked man points at me with a finger before turning around and rushing off. Is he seriously coming after me? How does he even know my name? I need to run now. Sigrid told me to go right to the very end of this corridor I am in now and then take a right. Passing the reception desk and cells, there is only one set of doors I stop in front of. The noises coming from within horrific. I can hear pleas and screams for help, followed by the sounds of sawing above the double doors, and a blue sign reads "Shower Room." I don't even want to find out what is going on in there. Compared to the other side of the asylum, this side is relatively crazy-free. Following Sidge's directions to the letter, I find myself staring at 2 metal doors with small square windows in them. Above the door is a sign that reads "Nursery," but etched into the actual frame of the door are the words "Rec Room." Who would even have a nursery in an asylum? And not just one either, as the room next to the one I stand in front of is also a nursery. The walls of the rec room are mostly made from actual glass, but thanks to closed blinds I can't see inside. Guess my only choice is to venture within and find out what horrors await. Gripping the metal handle on the left door, I pull it open. The light from the corridor shines inside, allowing me to see a thick line of salt behind the doorway. You've got to be fucking kidding me, I think to myself. So no matter where Alice is going in here, she's stumbling from one hell to the next, to the next, to the next. It's only a matter of time before somebody's luck runs out. You can only be so lucky in life. I admit that I couldn't win anything ever. By God, I try. Right. So, with regards to the area and the building, the asylum is quite large that they're in. I remember drawing it out map form. I didn't actually put it in the book. It was all higgledy-piggledy, and I'm not very good at drawing maps, but it was good enough for me to get the logistics down of the story and plan it out. Well, yeah, plan it out ahead. It's after the asylum that it grows insanely huge. The prison is just massive. I mean, it can hold thousands and thousands of prisoners in, where that asylum can only hold 100, maybe 150 at max before it's looking overcrowded. So you can see that the asylum is just a small fragment of this series. The prison sector, and then the third sector beyond the prison sector, which is all the entrances and fortifications of the prison, is where your real monsters reside. So like Sector 3 is your big bad bosses. If this was a video game, your end game bosses are in Sector 3. Sector 2 has the same, because I won't spoil it, but then the end bosses don't tend to stay in Sector 3. In fact, as we already know, the Warden is roaming like a loose cannon. Right, enough for the off notes. I'm going to crack on with chapter 10, and we are still with Alice, and she is now in that rec room. But what is the line of salt keeping it there? The chapter of the title is Mary Had a Little Lamb, and in 3, 2, 1, I pull the metal door out as wide as it will go, trying to jam it open so that the light will shine inside. Even if it is a little bit of light, it is better than no light at all. Wish that stupid torch had batteries. Placing one foot over the thick line of salt, a baby's mobile begins to spin above the crib, playing a pleasant little nursery rhyme. Mary Had a Little Lamb is the tune that it plays, if I am not mistaken, although this is enough to make my hair stand on end. Salt lines trap spirits in these rooms, and this asylum is proving to be filled to the brim with them. Entering, I turn to the windows trying to pry open the blinds. Seems they are busted as they will not move. It dawns on me that I am making too much noise trying to open the blinds as I feel eyes watching me. A young girl's laugh comes from across the room, making my head jerk and my eyes scour the darkness. Nothing is there, and the baby mobile stops. Okay, Alice, find that stupid video player and let's get the hell out of here. I've already begun talking to myself, a first step perhaps into becoming another freak in this asylum. Moving away from the blinds, I walk across soft carpeted floor. Feeling my way around with outstretched arms, I grasp at something hard, yet made from cotton. Feels like a sofa. Smashing my knee off something, I begin to dance on one leg as I mutter curse words and hold my knee. The pain all but vanishes when a young girl's giggle returns. I'm not alone in here, but there isn't just one spirit either. Out in that vast darkness are many muttering childlike voices. Need to find that damn television, I mutter to myself. With a sudden loud ping, a television begins to turn on. It isn't too far from where I am. It casts a faint glow across the room as the picture remains in static. My heart plummets as shadows begin to stretch out onto the walls. So many shadows are nearby. From what I can see, there are a total of 12 child-sized beds. Dressers stand on the other side of the room, each with written names upon them, but it is too dark for me to make out any of the names. Along with the dressers, there is only the one baby crib. Mary Had a Little Lamb begins to chime once more as I walk towards the television. Where the TV is situated looks to me like a children's sit-down area. As small, brightly coloured plastic tables are scattered around, accompanied by different coloured tiny chairs. There is even a huge rug underneath it all that has a game of snakes and ladders printed on it. Stepping towards the old-fashioned television, it's only when I stand in front of it that I notice a small slot for the video to be inserted. Another giggle makes my head jolt, and that is when I notice a thick ring of salt around the television area. Why is there a ring of salt surrounding the television sit-down area? Is this perhaps to protect the players of the game that make it here with a videotape? The children are watching me from beyond the salt line, but as long as I am within this circle, nothing can touch me. I wouldn't do that if I was you, miss. A young boy's voice startles me as I attempt to put the video into the player. Turning around and straightening up, I almost find myself rooted to the spot as my eyes meet a small boy dressed in shorts and a scruffy t-shirt. He's holding on tightly to a torn teddy bear. With his long black hair and muddy face, the child cannot be older than 6. What do you mean? Shivers run over my body as I realise I just questioned a ghost. The little boy melts away into small orbs of light that travel to the very edge of the salt ring. And just like magic, the small boy reappears, his arm outstretched and his bony finger pointing towards the video in my hand. Neil doesn't like it when people mess around with his special box. If you put that black thing into the box, he will wake up and kill you, Alice. The boy speaks my name so casually as if he has known me my whole life. He isn't the first entity either to speak my name so casually. It happened not too long ago, outside the canteen. How do you know my name? Kids begin to giggle in groups and start to mutter amongst themselves, but this one little boy answers me. The dead can see and tell many things different to the living. He is about to continue, but the television starts to make whirling noises. Either someone else has been here before with a video, or there is a video already inside the player. Turning back to the television, the children's mutterings grow louder until I can hear a girl yell, "Neil will wake up! Everyone hide!" Why would a ghost need to hide? To hide from other ghosts? Soon enough, a picture appears on the screen. Revolting and despicable images begin to flash brightly before my eyes. It's paedophile porn. Images and sounds I do not wish to see or hear are being played in full graphic detail. Of all the crap that I have seen in this place, this is by far the worst yet. Ejecting the tape, I throw it against a wall where it smashes apart, and good riddance. All the children's voices have gone, along with the shadows. Now all I can hear is a deep, ominous breathing. Placing my tape inside the slot, I wait a moment before a picture of a creepy small man appears. Well, I guess that is a man. He is dressed in the most bizarre collection of clothes I have ever seen. They remind me of Tudor clothes, only with more violet colour. A violet musketeer hat is on his head, and a white doctoring mask with a huge beak covers his face. Well done, participant. To have escaped Elsie's grasp is a worthy feat of bravery or sheer luck. He is definitely male, and the voice matches one I have heard previously. It is him, the governor. This small man is responsible for all of this. I've seen 7-year-olds taller than this man. A fucking dwarf is putting me and Becky through this hell. The thought of breaking his little neck satisfies me greatly. No matter how scary he tries to make himself look, rather than speak, he seems to just gaze out at the screen. It is as if he is looking at me. Trust me, buddy, you best pray that you and I don't meet, because even Jesus himself will not stop me from whooping your ass like a little bitch. For braving such depths, you are to be greatly rewarded with 3 imagery items. The first is a code for the safe room, usable only once. The 4-digit code is this. The man holds up a piece of paper that has 4 numbers scribbled onto it. 9824. Second is half of the code that will allow you to pass into Sector 2, the prison sector. Once more, the man holds up another piece of paper. Scribbled onto this are the numbers 42. I shall not tell you which half of the code it is. Of course you will not tell me, little prick. Once more he stops speaking, but thanks to the silence I can hear the baby mobile chime, followed by the rustling of bed sheets. Didn't know ghosts actually slept in beds. Looking away from the television for a moment, I check to see if the door is still open, and it is. Phew. Soon enough I will have to make a break for it. Lastly is a picture that will show you where to require the second half of the code to the Sector 2 door. The governor holds up a picture that looks like a garden, with its own personal gallows. Behind the gallows, under the steps, you will find 2 numbers etched into the wood. This is your prize for escaping Elsie. And with a beep, the television goes dark. A reflection in the screen shows me that someone is stood behind me, and of course behind the salt ring. This must be Neil, who the kids mentioned earlier. Beginning to turn so that I can see him better, he begins to sing to me, matching the tone of the still playing Baby Mobile. Mary has a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary has a little lamb and she knows it cannot swim. So she takes it to the swimming baths and chucks the fucker in. Neil begins to stare down at me. From what I can see, Neil is dressed in a latex gimp suit covered in studs. Neil must be the spirit. Neil must be the spirit Sid you wanted to warn me about. As my eyes flick to the open doors, I hear stretching latex as Neil places a boot across the salt ring. My eyes jolt to Neil, who has now walked across the ring. My television, my tape, my kids. Neil is going to teach you a lesson. Holy shit, what is wrong with this guy? I thought spirits couldn't cross salt lines, or am I wrong? With more latex stretching, Neil charges at me with outstretched arms. I bolt out of the salt circle and head for the open door. Neil has to be close behind as I can hear heavy panting. Perhaps he will not be able to pass the next salt line. It is wishful thinking as I jump out of the room and into the corridor. Planning to stop, I race down the corridor with this gimp suit man in hot pursuit. Why isn't the salt line working on him? Is he alive? I hear a loud thud behind me like someone has fallen over. I didn't plan on stopping, but an unfamiliar voice calls out to me. Wait, please, please wait up. A man's voice shouts, followed by the sound of a swishing blade. Why on earth do I stop? Why do I look? Blood runs across the corridor as Neil lays half decapitated on the floor. His body still jolting and shaking as a machete is buried into his throat. A smaller black man is hunched over the dead Neil, trying to regain his breath. His left hand covered in blood is stretched out like he's pleading with me to wait. All I want to do is run. I don't trust anybody in this crazy place, especially not a 50-year-old black man wearing grandpa clothes. Turning to run once more, the black man shouts again and begins to plead. I mean you no harm, I swear on my grandkids' graves. You are not one of these crazy bastards and don't look dead to me. My name is Benny Steele. I'm a journalist for The Sun. You come from England, right? Surely you've heard my name, or at least the paper's name. Benny removes the machete from Neil's neck before wiping it clean on his patterned woolly jumper. Who hasn't heard of the Sun newspaper in England? It's the most popular paper in the nation. I've not heard the name Benny Steele before. Then again, I only read the Mirror newspaper. Only one can make it out of this place alive, I state loudly. That may be true, but trust me, if we captives do not start working together, we are not going to see the second sector. And believe me, far worse horrors await beyond this one. For a captive, Benny seems to know an awful lot about the place. So then, what are you suggesting, Mr. Steele, if that is your real name? A truce for now. You came out of that room, so you must have got hold of a video, and you must have acquired a code for the safe room, right? If you let me in there with you, I will tell you everything you want to know. Information for safety. Seems like a fair bargain, but right now... Information for safety. Seems like a fair bargain, but for right now, Benny has a weapon, and I don't. How am I to know that this Benny is legit? If I recall correctly, there are some crazy people that book themselves in here. Benny sees me thinking it over, but before either of us can say a word, a dozen or so footprints can be heard at the top of the corridor. The man in the red mask is here, and he's brought a few bagheads along with him. Both Benny and I start to run for it, only to be quickly chased after by the lunatics. The safe room is south of the corridor, another giant submarine-like door. This one seems to be more high-tech as it has a number panel instead of a rusted wheel. Please tell me you got a code, woman. Benny begins to heave against the submarine door as I hurry to type the code in. Yes, I have it, just bear with me. Beep, 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 ding. The submarine door flies inwards, and 4 men dressed in heavy combat gear and gas masks point guns at us. Crazies in one direction, and trained killers in the other. And that ends chapter 10. So, with regards to that, I'll actually touch on the Rec Room because I remember when I first released this, I actually got a few questions of a few readers that read it, and the first one they wanted to know was why Neil is dead so fast. And part of the reason is I cannot stand pedophiles. I didn't really want to write it in, but I also wanted a creepy scene with kids in it. And with all the horrors going on in this place, it just seems to match that somebody of that caliber would be in there. And honestly, as quick as a death as it is, things don't tend to stay dead. Neil was very much alive. He crossed the salt lines. He was clearly alive. So perhaps we'll see him later. I mean, it was short lived. Glad in a way because I cannot stand people like that. So there is that. But obviously, now we have a friend, maybe, for Alice. Is Benny legit, or isn't he? If most of you have read Onwards, you might know, but I'll keep people guessing for now. But we are over halfway through with this book. I think there's about 16 chapters. It is a very, very small book. It was my first horror book that I ever wrote. I focused on fantasy before this, epic fantasy. They were long, long, long books, like 400 or 500 pages. I think my first ever book that I wrote in, actually, I started writing when I was 7 and finished it when I was 12, and it was about 1,200 pages. I still have the originals. I did post it up for a time, but it got absolutely slated. I'm sort of not surprised, but also gutted. Like, the first reviews on it were just dire. It was like, don't read this, horrible, read 5 pages, so many spell mistakes, yada yada. What do you expect from a 12-year-old kid? I mean, it's going to be grammatically wrong in many places. Hell, there's quite a lot of grammar wrong in this. Although this is a first edition and the new one has been actually edited. And even the edited version, I still spot the odd mistakes. It just seems no matter how many eyes go over it, unless you're like in a publishing house with their facilities and their resources, it just seems nigh on impossible for indie authors to just catch everything. But with regards to that, I still think it's more about the story than the spelling mistakes and that. If it has a good story and great characters, the book is worth the read. I've read many indie author books with atrocious spell mistakes, some plot errors as well, but the characters were good. It ended up somewhat consistent, and it was a good read. Now, if I read a mainline author, then like, let me see, the last bad book I read by I would actually say Twilight. Twilight was horrendous. I did not like it. I didn't even like the films. I still slate them today. But it's a multi million pound book, and she's classed as a fantastic author. Hats off to her. And that, but I personally didn't like the story. Not her writing style or anything like that. I just didn't like the story. Right. I'm just trailing off on whatever now. So I am going to end this here. It's shorter than my other ones, thank God. And on Friday, I will bring you chapter 11 and 12. And we're going to learn a little bit more about the island that the prison is, the asylum, and whatnot is located on. And you'll be quite surprised. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Take care.